Hi, Namaste. So, tonight I'm going to read Book 7, Chapter 37 on Bhakti Yoga. Om Vakratuna Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nidaveganam Kuramideva Sarvakaya Susharuta Om Ekadantaya Vim Vakratundaya Om Gamara Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Hari Om Tat Sat. The Himalaya said, O Mother, now describe your Bhakti Yoga, by which ordinary men who have no dispassion get the knowledge of Brahma easily. The Devi said, O Chief of Mountains, there are three paths, widely known, leading to the final liberation, moksha. These are Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. Of these three, Bhakti Yoga is the easiest in all respects. People can do it very well without incurring any suffering to the body and bringing the mind to a perfect concentration. This Bhakti devotion again is of three kinds, as the gunas are three. His Bhakti is tamas, who worships me to pain others, being filled with vanity and jealousy and anger. That Bhakti is rajasic, when one worships me for one's own welfare and does not intend to do harm to others. He has got some desire or end in view, some fame, or to attain some objects of enjoyments, and ignorantly, and thinking himself different from me, worships me with greatest devotion. Again, the Bhakti is sattviki, when anybody worships me to purify his sins and offers to me the result of all his karmas, thinking that Jiva and Isvara are separate, and knowing that this action of his is authorized in the Vedas and therefore must be observed. This sattviki Bhakti is different from the Supreme Bhakti, as the worshippers think me separate, but it leads to the Supreme Bhakti. The other two bhaktis do not lead to para bhakti, the Supreme Bhakti, or the highest unselfish love. Know here attentively about the para bhakti that I am now describing to you. He who hears always my glories and recites my name, and whose mind dwells always like the incessant flow of oil in me, who is the receptacle of all auspicious qualities and gunas, but he has not the least trace of any desire to get the fruits of his karma. He does not want samapya, sarasti, sayujya, and salokya, and other forms of liberation. He becomes filled with devotion for me alone, worships me alone, knows nothing higher than to serve me, and he does not want final liberation even. He does not like to forsake this idea of seva, to be served, and sevaka, servant who serves. He always meditates on me with constant vigilance and actuated by a feeling of supreme devotion. He does not think himself separate from me, but rather thinks himself that I am the Bhagavati. He considers all the jivas as myself and loves me, and he loves himself. He does not make any difference between the jivas and myself, and he finds the same Chaitanya everywhere and manifest in all. He does not quarrel with anybody, as he has abandoned all ideas about separateness. He bows down and worships the Chandalas and all the jivas. He who becomes filled with devotion to me whenever he sees my place, my devotees, and hears the sastras describing my deeds, and whenever he meditates on my mantras, he becomes filled with the highest love, and his hairs stand on their end out of love to me, and tears of love flow incessantly from both his eyes. He recites my name and my deeds in a voice choked with feelings of love for me. Note, the Paraprema Bhakti is like the maddening rush of love to the ocean, thence in the shape of vapor to the highest Himalayan mountain peaks, to be congealed into snow, where various plays of bright colors take place. O Lord of the mountains, he worships me with intense feeling as the mother of this universe and the cause of all causes. He performs the daily and occasional duties and all my vows and sacrifices without showing any miserly feeling in his expenditure of money. He naturally longs to perform my festivities and to visit places where my utsavs are held. He sings my name loudly and dances, being intoxicated with my love, and has no idea of egoism and is devoid of his body idea, thinking that the body is not his. He thinks that whatever is parabdha done in his previous lives must come to pass, and therefore does not become agitated as to the preservation of his body and soul. This sort of bhakti is called the parabhakti, or the highest devotion. Here the predominant idea is the idea of the Devi, and no other idea takes its place. O mountain, he gets immediately dissolved in my nature of consciousness, whose heart is really filled with such parabhakti, or love. The sages call the limiting stage of this devotion and dispasana as jnana, knowledge. When this jnana arises, bhakti and dispassion gets their ends satisfied. Yea, he goes then to the Manidvipa when his ahamkara does not crop up by his prarabdha karma. Though he did not fail to give up his life and devotion, O mountain, that man enjoys there all the objects of enjoyments, though unwilling, and at the end of the period gets the knowledge of my consciousness. By that he attains the final liberation forever. Without this jnana, the final liberation is impossible. He realizes Parabrahma, who gets in this body of his the above jnana of the Pratyak Atma in his heart. When his prana leaves his body, he does not get rebirth. The Shruti says, he who knows Brahma becomes Brahma. In the logic of Kanta Chamikara, gold on the neck, the ignorance vanishes. When this ignorance is destroyed by knowledge, he attains all his knowledge, the object to be attained when he recognizes the gold on his neck. O best of mountains, this my consciousness is different from the perceived pots, etc., and unperceived maya. The image of this Paramatma is seen in bodies other than the Atma, as the image folds in a mirror, as the image folds in water. So this Paramatma is seen in the Pitrilokas as the shadow and light are quite distinct. So in my Manidvipa, the knowledge of oneness without a second arises. That man resides in the Brahmaloka for the period of a kalpa, who leaves his body without attaining jnana, though he had his vairagyam. And then he takes his birth in the family of a pure, prosperous family, and practicing again his yoga habits, gets my consciousness. O King of Mountains, this jnana arises after many births. It does not come in one birth, so one should try one's best to get this jnana. If attaining this rare human birth, one does not attain this jnana, know that a great calamity has befallen to him, for this human birth is very hard to attain. And then the birth in a Brahmin family is rarer. Moreover, amongst the Brahmins, the knowledge of the Veda, the consciousness is exceedingly rare. the attaining of the 6 qualities which are considered as 6 wealth, restraint of passions, etc., the success in yoga, and the acquisition of a pure, real guru. All these are very hard to be attained in this life. O mountain, the maturity and the activities of the organs of the senses and the purification of the body according to the Vedic rites are all very difficult to attain. Know this again, that to get a desire for final liberation is acquired by the merits acquired in many births. That man's birth is entirely futile who attaining all the above qualifications does not try his best to attain this jnana. So one should try one's best to acquire the jnana. Then at every moment he gets the fruits of the Ashramedha sacrifice. There is no doubt in this. As ghee, clarified butter, resides potentially in milk, so the Vijnana Brahma resides in everybody. So make the mind the churning rod and always churn with it. Always churn with it. Then, by slow degrees, the knowledge of Brahma will be attained. Man attains blessedness when he gets this jnana. So the Vedanta says, thus I have described to you in brief, O King of Mountains, all that you wanted to hear. What more do you want? Here ends the 37th chapter of the 7th book on the glories of Bhakti in the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Vedvyasa. Om Jayanti Mangalakali Bhadrakali Kavaritakakshma. Om Tuya Mata Chapita Tuya Tuya Bandisha Jaskatu.